Hello, and welcome to another edition of Journey to Stewardship, where we learn to be good stewards of what God has entrusted to us. I'm your host, the Reverend Doctor, and today we got a sort of a small, not problem, but what God has entrusted you with. Now, He may have given somebody more than He gave you. You say, well, I only have a little bit of things. Well, God entrusted you with them and He wants you to see what you do with them. But you say, in your comparison to someone else, you say, well, I don't have enough to give. That I'm too poor to give, or I'm too wanting to give. But even the poor are to give to God for what they have. Not give for out of what you don't have, but give out of what you have. Even the poor should give. Now you say, well, God didn't entrust me with a whole lot, so therefore I'm poor in comparison, and I don't have a lot to give. But give. You got a time, you got a talent. Use it. And what little money's got, you say that you have, give out of that. God entrusted you with, He wants to see what you want to do with it. See, if He give you a little bit and you give, think about what else is out there. Think about what else that God can do for you. Just think about it. That if you just give and not worry about what it compares to, just give. Deuteronomy 16:16 says, no man should appear before God empty-handed. Empty-handed. When we come to God with something. We usually go to Him when times of trouble in our lives. We bring our needs and our wants to the altar. And sometimes when we leave the altar, we take the stuff back with us. But no man should show to God empty-handed. Bring something back. Bring something back. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just do something. And I got a story I want to read to you tonight. And it's 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 10 through 15. And it covers what we are talking about tonight. Even the poor are to give to God for what they have. Out of what they have. Not out of what they don't have, but give out of what you have. And this is the story of Elijah and the widow. 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 10 through 15. And this is from the King James Version. So he arose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering sticks. And he called to her and said, fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thine hand. And she said, as the Lord thy God liveth, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. And Elijah said to her, fear not, go and do as thou hast said. But make me thereof a little cake first, and bring it unto me, and after make for thee and for thy son. For thus saith the Lord God of Israel, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day the Lord sendeth rain upon the earth. And she did according to the saying of Elijah. And she and he and her house did eat for many days. And it goes on to say, and the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake it by Elijah. Here's a poor woman, poor widow. A little bit of meal, a little bit of oil. She had decided that this was the last meal for her and her son. But the man of God said, give to me. And he promised her that the meal in the barrel will not fail, and the oil in the cruse will not fail. In fact, he said you'll not run out of it until water is sent to the earth so that the crops can grow. Here's a poor woman giving out of what she had, not what she didn't have. What she had, not what she didn't have. She gave. And God blessed her. Now, how many of us would give like that? Would give our last to God? He just wants you to be faithful. See, all she had was a little bit of meal and a little bit of oil. And she said that was enough for her and her son. That's all they had. It's all they had. Now, God entrusted her with that. And God said, I want to see what you're going to do with it. And so what did she do? She gave to the man of God. She didn't have the money. But she had the flour and the meal and the oil that she could make him a cake. She gave him a little bit of water, what he asked for, without complaining. And he promised her. So I'm saying to you today is, if you consider yourself poor, you say, I don't have to give. Yes, you do. Give something. You're good stewards. God entrusted you with lots, so give him something back. You got time, you got talent. You got a couple dollars here and there. Give that to the church and watch what it do. Watch what it do. Genesis 28, 20-22, while a single man with no job or income, Jacob made a vow saying, if God will be with me and will watch over me, then the Lord will be my God. And of all that you, O God, give me, I will give you a tenth. Now here, Jacob saying that, I don't have anything. But if I'm going to follow you, then everything you give me, I'm going to give you a tenth. That everything you give me, I'm going to give you a tenth. Now here's a man in the Bible with nothing. Single man, no job. But he prayed to God that whatever you give me, I would give a portion back. So what I'm saying to you is that even if you consider yourself poor, you consider yourself you don't have to give, yes you do. You have something to give. The old widow, the widow didn't have but a little bit. Jacob had nothing. But you got something. Because if you looking at me now, whether it be live or YouTube, at least you got a camera or computer. You got internet, so that ain't free. You still got a couple dollars left over. take one of them dollars that, that you were going to play the lottery with, give it to God. Take a couple of them dollars that, because we can always find a couple of dollars now for what it is that we want. We can always find that. But put God on your wanting list that you want to give to him. And don't use the excuse that I don't have enough to give. Yes, you do. You have enough. Because I don't think any of us have been in a situation where we had nothing left in the house to eat but a little bit of meal and a little bit of oil, and we were going to make the last meal, and then we were going to go in and die. And my family was going to go in and die. No, I don't think we've ever been to that point. We may not have known where the next meal coming from, but God provides. So give what you can. 2 Corinthians 8, 2 and 4, and this is another good one. 2 Corinthians, though the Macedonian Christians have been going through much trouble and hard times, they have mixed their wonderful joy with their deep poverty. And the result has been an overflowing of giving to others. They gave not only what they could afford, but far more. And I could testify that they did it because they wanted to. They begged us to take the money so they could share in the joy of helping Christians in Jerusalem. Now here's Paul, and that's 2 Corinthians, and I'm trying to use my technology here. 2 Corinthians chapter 8, 2 to 4. And the churches in Macedonia, they were poor, going through hard times, and they still gave. And they still gave. Being persecuted, hard times. And they still gave. In fact, Paul said they gave more than their poverty. That they gave more. And when they didn't want to take the money, they say, they begged them to take it. Because they were helping the ministry. They were giving to God. They didn't see themselves as poor. They saw themselves as giving to God. God entrusted it with them. He entrusted them with the little bit that they had. So they wanted to give. So what I'm saying to you is that God entrusts you with a lot. Now, in compared to somebody, you might not have as much as anybody else, but you got enough to give something. Give something back. Even the poor. And if you consider yourself poor, still give to God. Still give to God. Even when you consider yourself poor. Now there's a saying that says, if a pauper gives to God, he feels like a prince. If a prince doesn't give to God, he feels like a pauper. And we were saying a poor person. Here the poor person, the pauper is the poor person, and the prince is the rich person. So if the poor person gives to God, he feels like a prince. Because he's given to God. But if the prince does not give to God, he feels like a poor man. Now I want you to think about that for a minute. You said, well, I'm not a pauper and I'm not a prince. I just don't have it to give. Yes, you do. Sometimes it's not money that you give. It's your time. It's your talent. God entrusted you with a talent. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? And you notice that if God, if he do an account of a steward and he finds you not being a good steward of what he entrusted to you, he's going to take it from you and give it to somebody else. Now, I know you don't want that to happen. Because again, when you lost a job and you needed some income, what did you do? You asked God to help you. You got the vehicle. You said, yeah, I'll be going to church. And what happened? Other things got in the way, as they say. But if you give to God, even when you feel like you don't have it to give, yes, you do. God has entrusted you and me with a lot. So what are we going to do with this, what he's entrusted us with? But we say, well, God didn't give me what the same he gave to somebody else. I'm considered poor here. I don't, to get ready to turn my lights off, and my lights might be off, and, to get ready to repossess the car, and, and things are not looking too good on the job front, and, all of these things. But we look up excuses on not to give to God. What if God, now I'm just being hypothetical here, what if God came up with an excuse to not help you? He'll say, well, you ain't been to church in a while. You ain't been to Bible study. You tell me you were coming, but you didn't. Whatever. What do you think? How would you be? You'd be in a lot of trouble. But God is a merciful God. He's a forgiving God. He's slow to anger. So when we don't give, or when we're not being good stewards with what he's entrusted to us, we make God angry. And we surely don't want God as an enemy. But he's long-suffering, which means that he will put up with it longer than we would. Quite longer than we would. But he's long-suffering. He's a merciful God. But that don't mean that you can't give of your time and of your talent and of your monies. Here, the story of the widow. She had no money. All she had was flour and oil. And just a little bit of that. But Elijah, a man of God, said, if you feed me first, that meal in that barrel will never run out. That oil in that cruse will never run out until God make it rain so that the crops can grow. And he was true to his word. True to his word. The Bible says that she, Elijah, and her house ate many days because God made sure that she had had meal and oil to eat. So if you giving to God, God's going to make sure that you always have monies to give. He's going to always make sure that you have time to give. He's going to always make sure that your talent will make a way for you. So you say that you don't have enough. Well, yes, you do. You say, well, I only have a couple dollars. Well, then give them a couple dollars to God. And you say, well, I don't know. You pass churches every day, man. Just find a church. See somebody going to church. You know somebody going to church that go to church. Go over there and give them a couple dollars and tell them, put this in church for me. I'm giving this back to God. And watch God, where he'll make sure you always have that money to give. I challenge you to do that. You got $1 or $2. You say, I don't have much, everything, $1 or $2. Go find somebody that's going to church and give it to them. And tell them, put this in church for me. I'm giving to God. And then I want you to, by next week, I want you to tell me, call me and let me know what God has done for you. I know he will. And I challenge you today that even if you consider yourself poor, I want you to give to God. Well, the clock says I got to go tonight. That's the end of my little lesson for tonight. God has entrusted us with a lot. The church number is 407-485-3698. 407-485-3698. Call the church. Leave me a message. Let me know what God has done for you. Let me know if you've been a good steward of what God has entrusted to you. You can see me on Facebook Live. Send me a comment. If you're on YouTube, then go to my YouTube page, Pastor Jeffrey Goodine, and subscribe to my page. I need 1,000 subscribers, they say, before I can go live. So I'm live on Facebook, but I'm recording for YouTube. So tell your friends to go out, YouTube, search for Pastor Jeffrey Goodine, and subscribe so I can get my 1,000 subscribers so I can be live on Facebook, live on YouTube, spreading the message of God. Well, this has been another edition of Journey to Stewardship. I'm your host, the Reverend Doctor, and I always sign off by saying, well done, thy good and faithful servant.